¿A dónde está papi? 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 ¿A dónde está papi?
Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Thursday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Thursday. Fireworks in the news cycle today, that's for sure. Welcome, everybody. How's it going, Mayhem Hippie? Indeed, it's been a minute, and indeed, I am hanging on by the edge of my seat today. The UK has also declared a heat wave for the next 4 days. It's horribly hot day and night. Yeah, that's what a heat wave is, unfortunately. Echo Resto Dragon, how's it going? It has just been a explosive breaking news cycle. As folks have probably already, maybe, are already aware, Merrick Garland gave a explosive press conference, or I should say press statement. It wasn't really that long, and he did not answer any questions. But I suppose like we should try to break this down, right? Of course we're gonna play it, and of course we're just to make sure that we're not missing anything. Lock him up. I agree with Merrick Garland setting a hand grenade off under Trump. Yeah, he basically said like, "You're full of shit." And yeah, it was me. So, for those of you that don't know, or for those of you that just are coming here for the analysis, essentially, Attorney General Merrick Garland did a press conference or a press statement, basically saying that yes, a warrant was lawfully, signed off by a judge. Merrick Garland approved this, and it was executed in a lawful manner. Trump's legal team was there despite any BS that's been spreading around. Trump's legal team was there. Trump's legal team had knowledge of this. And now we're finding out that Trump had a subpoena from months ago that apparently was not complied with. So we've got a lot of explosive things going on one at a time. Heat, how's it going? Howdy, howdy. Some of us have been hiding under their work today. What is the scoop? All right, well, just hang tight and we'll get to it. So I guess we should start because my time is also a little bit limited. So I guess we should get to some of the fireworks first, right? I feel welcomed. You should. Howdy. So let me begin. I guess let me begin like kind of setting the stage for everything to go. Before I do so, though, let me go turn off the fan. Hold on, folks. I always forget. Hopefully y'all didn't hear any of that. Or hopefully you can't hear the fan in the back. All right. So let's kind of set the stage here. Oh, there's no sound issues with your fan? Okay, perfect. So my fan is on, so nope. Yeah, just pretend it's your fan, okay, if you hear anything. So let's kind of just set the stage from beginning to end, right? More than half, before we like get to the apex, right? More than half of the GOP governor nominees have been questioned or denied the legitimacy of the 2020 election. This should be ringing huge red alarm bells to begin with. The Republican nominee in at least 20, holy yikes, in at least 20 of the 36 gubernatorial races is someone who has rejected, declined to affirm, or raised doubts, or tried to overturn Joe Biden's victory in the 2020 election. So I want to kind of just take a step back and remind people that the Republican Party, not only have they held CPAC events at Hungary, But more notably, Hungary's current dictator, authoritarian, Viktor Orban, essentially has seized power through legal means and has used the systems and institutions in place to essentially all but guarantee his hold on power. This is the same Viktor Orban who was also recently invited as an opening speaker to the CPAC event in Texas. I would also like to point out that the Republican Party is currently deploying and nominating folks who not only question the legitimacy of our electoral institution without evidence, but they also plan to have networks of attorneys, attorney generals, and are running for Secretary of State positions. This is not an exaggeration. This should be ringing multiple alarm bells. He spoke at CPAC. That he did. So, like I said, Echo Resto Dragon, when I make the claim that the Republican Party is incompatible with democracy, that claim is neither bombastic, exaggerated, or without concern. I have to switch to my phone, BRB. I promised the fiance we would have a fire tonight and hang out with the neighbors. Nice. That sounds pretty cool. Actually, one of the things that I'm gonna do afterwards is have some dinner. So yeah, have some dinner with the with some family. So yeah, I completely understand. That's right. Yeah, Echo Resto Dragon. So yeah. If the concern isn't there, it definitely should be. Yeah, they said they were anti-Antifa. Anti-fascist. So what does that make? Huh, interesting. He also made like very interesting points in his CPAC speech. Something to the effect that he is a true he is a true and old school fighter of communism. And I just can't help but like wonder what large group that seems to have a growing influence in Europe also has a strong hatred for communism. It's just at the tip of my tongue. I just can't think about it right now. And the list will certainly get longer when the last batch of Republican primaries are completed over the weeks. The 20 candidates on the list so far have expressed varying views about the 2020 election. Some have falsely proclaimed the election stolen. Some others have been evasive when asked if Biden's victory was legitimate. Some incumbents America as a whole has a hate for communism. That's true. But I'm not talking about just like America. I'm talking about Viktor Orban's specific statement. Yeah. Which has specific and historical context. Yeah, it's on the tip of my tongue. Yeah, there you go. Somebody gets it. He's also talked about the necessity for racial purity. So that's not alarming at all. And this is the opening speaker at CPAC. And CPAC has also done events in Hungary, which begs the question, why is a large organization that is affiliated with one of the two largest parties in America doing events in a country that's neither a strong economic ally or really much of an ally at all? That's kind of strange. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm doing the classic. Listen, I'm wearing the Tim Pool beanie, okay? So I'm going to sit here and ask the classic questions, okay? Some have falsely proclaimed that the election was stolen. Others have been evasive when asked if Biden's victory was legitimate. Some incumbents endorsed a 2020 lawsuit that sought to overturn Biden's win, but have said little about the election since. Some first-time candidates made false election claims about a focus on their successful 2020 primary campaigns. Regardless, the presence of a large number of 2020 deniers, deceivers, and skeptics on general ballots in November raised the prospect of a crisis in democracy in the 2024 presidential election, in which former President Trump was widely expected to run again. I agree. Like, this may sound like catastrophizing the situation, and normally I would say yes. CNN catastrophizing, exaggerating, but no, not this time. This time, this is not an exaggeration. This is setting the stage for a potential crisis of democracy, 100%. Yeah, classic. I'm just just asking questions. That's what I like to do. So you think people need more education? Education should be like a standard. Yes. Does the article mention the role Democrats are playing in promoting election deniers in the Republican primaries? No, because it's CNN. Probably not. You know what? Maybe I should not speak. I'll keep reading, but I'm gonna say no. Anaholics. Howdy. Welcome. Regardless, the presence of large number... Oh, yes. Trump is expected to run again. Governors play a major role in elections, signing or vetoing legislation about election rules, sometimes unilaterally changing these rules, appointing key election officials, and critically certifying election results. Which also is to remind people that there is a serious case that's coming up before the Supreme Court soon. And we'll determine whether or not we have we'll determine whether or not the semblance of democracy that we have remains as such. Please keep in mind that Supreme Court decision is coming up at some point soon. It is possible that some swing states will have their 2024 elections run by both the governor and elections chief who have vehemently rejected Biden's victory, which should, again, ring numerous alarm bells. In Arizona, for example, both Republican gubernatorial nominee Kari Lake and the Secretary of State nominee Mark Finchem are conspiracy theorists who want to overturn Biden's 2020 win in the state. This is not an exaggeration. This is exactly what they believe. In Pennsylvania, another one, where governor gets to nominate the election chief, the Republican gubernatorial nominee is Doug Mastriano, a fervent election denier who has taken various steps to reverse the 2020 election result. Again, this is not an exaggeration. This is exactly what happened. Both Republican nominees in Michigan, Tudor Dixon for governor and Christy Caramo for Secretary of State, both key positions, have falsely claimed that Trump won the state in 2020. So yeah, this is very serious. This is very serious. History tells the story of the victors and not those who lost. I don't understand what's the relevance between that, your initial question of do you think we need more education, and then the response being yes, education would help. I don't understand where you're going with this. Trump loves attention and pleads the fifth over 440 times is from previous reporting. Wait, you do realize you're in my channel, right? You do realize this is my stream, right? Like, just so we're clear. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm supposed to run it by you first. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that question. Is it okay if I run the channel and respond to the comments as I see fit? Is that okay? Can I run that by you? What did I walk into? A clown. You walked into a circus just as we're getting started. How's it going, Alec Pie? Alio with the 10 biddies. Thank you. I appreciate that. So apparently, I like pie. This is actually and just so you know, I like pie. You have to run your comments by our friend over here, CFC, whatever his name is, Hearts, whatever. CFC. So just make sure that you run your comments by CFC, because apparently they're like they're the ones that are taking the reins of the show today. Which clown? The clown above you, CFCH Hearts, or whatever the heck their name is. Just so you know, I like pie. We're running. Yeah, good to know. We're running everything by CFC, so make sure everything's kosher with them. You know. Listen, if you can't even like respond to debates like in chat, you're not even worth my time. Anyways, fervent denier has taken various steps to reverse the 2020 result. Both Republicans, yes, we went over this, Tudor Dixon for governor and Christina Carmo for secretary of state, have falsely claimed that Trump won the state. In other words, these are very powerful positions, very high up positions that would have influence over elections. That should be ringing a number of alarm bells. CNN will update this article as additional Republican winners are chosen. In April, during the Republican primary, incumbent Alabama Governor Kay Ivey released an ad in which he falsely claimed that the fake news, the big tech and blue state liberals stole the election from President Trump. Wow. So this kind of like illustrates the argument that I've made that this is the Republican Party, right? Like, there's no such thing as like a moderate in the Republican Party, right? Like, some may say, or some may tiptoe around the idea, but at the end of the day, they'll always support the dear leader, right? It's a cult, regardless of how moderate or how reasonable they may seem. Arizona Republican nominee Carrie Lake has put false claims about the 2020 election center of her campaign because it wins. If the Republicans insist on Trump instead of DeSantis and are wait until Trump's health falls, so be it. That's not a good thing, Alio. That's not a good thing. That is definitely not a good thing. You do not want Ron DeSantis. That is the exact opposite of what you should want. Ron DeSantis is more dangerous. Where did I go to school? That's none of your business. Yeah, you should not want DeSantis to run, my friend. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. DeSantis is 100% worse. Has put up false claims about the 2020 election at the center of that campaign, repeatedly and falsely declaring that the election was stolen and even calling it disqualifying and sickening that her top rival in the party wouldn't say the same. Right, because you're in a cult. If you don't believe what the dear leader says, then you don't belong. In an interview of the New York Times, after primary voters had cast their ballots, Lake said of Biden, deep down, I think we all know this is an illegitimate. I think we all know this illegitimate fool in the White House. I feel sorry for him. Didn't win. Yeah, unfortunately, you're gonna have to provide evidence for that. And so far, no evidence to suggest otherwise. Lake, a former long-term local news anchor at Fox Station in Phoenix, has said that she would not have certified Biden's victory in Arizona had she been governor. She has continued, even in 2022, to demand the decertification of a Biden-won state, of the Biden-won states of Arizona and Wisconsin, though that is a legal impossibility. Yep. It seems Republicans are insisting on either one, DeSantis or Trump, and horrible choices. Yeah, both are bad and both are authoritarian, but one is more dangerous than the other. One is more dangerous than the other, and the answer to that question is DeSantis. Lake has made numerous false claims. She has falsely claimed Biden didn't receive the 81 million votes. Instead, he did indeed receive, falsely claimed that Trump won Arizona, though he actually lost by 10,000 votes, and promoted baseless conspiracy theories about the vote count and about election technology company Dominion voting systems. You speak on needing more education, claim that I'm an uneducated clown. I actually never said that. I said you were just a clown. And not proud of your alma mater. Seems legit. Yeah, seems legit. I think that one can simultaneously say, we need education, we need more education, without having a degree in education. Why would that matter? I don't even have to be proud of my alma mater to say that we need more education. You know that that's true, right? Who this? Another debate bro? Another debate bro who thinks that you can't simultaneously say that you can't simultaneously say that you need more education and also not be proud of your alma mater? Who cares? Now, we've chatted before. Yes, I know. I'm very aware. Why would me being proud of a school relevant to the argument of needing more education? Oh, and there they go. Oh well. Lake has advocated for the imprisonment of Arizona Secretary of State Katie Hobbs, who is now her Democratic opponent for governor. What? For the imprisonment? There is simply no sign Hobbs broke the law. Lake has also called for the imprisonment of unspecified journalists she claims told lies about the election and other subjects. Ah, yes. Imprison my political enemies. Because of reasons and things. And reasons. Wow. Nice. Oh god. And now we've got the now we've got the clown on DMs. You're talking about needing more education. Yes. Yet you won't speak on your own experience. These are two different things. I've got people watching you all laughing, all degree holders too. Damn, based. I get more viewers? What? So you're like restreaming my stream? No way, dude. Thanks. Based. Yes, America does need education, true. Credentialism. No, like, listen, education and having a degree in what you're talking about and then talking about that makes absolutely 100%, it makes sense, right? Like if I had a degree about biology and I have like a whole bunch of, videos about biology and whatnot, yeah, But like, you don't need a degree, or you don't need to be proud of your alma mater, or you don't need to have an education degree to be like, yeah, I think we need education. Like, this is a statement that I think can be substantiated. Next time we speak, I'll ask for a large fry. Yikes. You're gonna be largely disappointed then. His comment didn't make any sense. Of course it didn't. America needs education. Yep, they're desperate apparently. Oh yeah, no, they're desperate for attention. They're desperate for attention. It's okay. You'll grow up one day. These trolls are great. They improve your stream on an algorithm and make you more popular and successful. Oh yeah, I know. 10 viewer Andy. Boom! More. Bring me on Discord? No thank you. You're not worth my time. You're like actually not worth my time. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the former press secretary, has run a low-profile Arkansas gubernatorial campaign with only sporadic public comments to the media. But when Arkansas Democrat Gazette newspaper asked her this spring whether she believes the election was stolen from Trump, Sanders declined to affirm the election legitimacy. I mean, this is such a simple yes or no question, right? Like, are your feet firmly planted in reality? Yes or no? It's very simple, okay? It's very simple. This is like being asked if the sky is blue, right? Or like the grass is green. These are just kind of like observable facts, right? The sky is blue. Yes. I don't need to decline the comment to make that statement. Did the election results happen? Yes. That's it. It's also the primaries and votes in all 50 states, and if voters are audited, it's acceptable. I'm not sure what that means. I don't need a GED. I actually have a high school diploma, thank you. I don't know why I would need a GED. Can you get a GED and a high school diploma? That would be cool. I don't think that will be... Wait, hold on. Let me go after this quote here. I don't think we'll ever know the depths of how much fraud existed. So she... Wait. Yeah, so she's saying she doesn't believe in the election results. Yeah, it's simple. She doesn't believe in it. Sanders didn't go nearly as far to obscure a primary opponent. Nah, sorry. Yeah, she's just as bad. Anyways, we can go down the list of all the clowns that are running on the basis of the grand conspiracy theory being pushed by Trump. And all to say that this should be reinforcing the idea that Republicans just aren't compatible with democracy. They don't care about democratic institutions. They don't care about the vote. They don't care about electoralism. They're not interested in any of that. The 2020 election results were audited. Yes, in multiple states. Yes, in multiple states where there was challenges, which is every candidate's right to do. There was audits, counts, recounts. I mean, yes, you're correct, Elio. Like, I mean, the definition of insanity is counting the same votes over and over again and expecting a different result. Like, I don't... Yeah, it's a done deal. Yes, my level of education is actually on the 3rd grade level of education. Yes, 100%. But they wear a lot of red, white, and blue. The true patriots. That's right. All the recounts found more Biden votes. Yes, particularly with the Arizona one. That was a good meme. Okay, so we got the gist. I'm pretty sure we got the gist. This should be deeply disturbing. The fact that Republicans are running so many candidates in key positions, like gubernatorial races, Secretary of State races, of people who legitimately believe that the election was stolen illegitimate. In other words, they don't believe in the electoral process. And these folks are winning the GOP primaries. So I don't know, folks. It looks to me like the GOP, the Republican Party as a whole, just is not compatible with democracy. I keep making that statement, and I keep using examples to reinforce that argument over and over and over again to make people understand just how sensitive the situation is. But are you smarter than a fifth grader? Probably not. Probably not. Probably not. Okay. Armed man tries to breach Cincinnati FBI building, leading to shots fired and standoff. Yeah, eroding democracy is the GOP's is the GOP's new American pastime. True. I have no idea what that means. A standoff has ended after an attempted breach of the Cincinnati FBI building led to a pursuit of an armed suspect in Clinton County, according to officials with Ohio State Highway Patrol and the Clinton County Emergency Management System Agency. Wow. According to Ohio State Highway Patrol, it started around 9 a.m. when an armed man attempted to breach the FBI Cincinnati visitor screening facility. When do we get to use the guns? Echo the words that echo in my head in that CPAC Q&A when that guy went up to Charlie Kirk. When do we get to use the guns? An alarm went off and FBI special agents responded when the man fired a nail gun at law enforcement personnel, sources told NBC. Then the man held up an AR-15 style rifle before fleeing in a vehicle north onto I-71, leading Ohio State Highway Patrol on pursuit. Police said during the pursuit, the suspect fired shots from his vehicle before getting off the highway, stopping near Smith Road in Clinton County. That's when police said the suspect and officers exchanged gunfire, leading to a standoff. No officers were injured in the exchange or gunfire. It's unclear if the suspect was struck by gunfire or even injured. Clinton County Emergency Management Agency has said the standoff has ended, but some operations continue at the scene. No further details have yet been released. When do we get to use the guns? If it wasn't yesterday, the day before, Charlie Kirk also said that we should raid those who raid us. I guess somebody heard his call to action and acted on it. Somebody heard his call to action and then acted upon it. I mean, like, if this isn't stochastic terrorism, folks, I don't know what is, okay? You've got people like Charlie Kirk drumming up rhetoric like this, saying that we need to raid back, and then surprise Pikachu face 2 days later, an armed man tries to breach a FBI building and gets into a shootout with the FBI. it wouldn't surprise me that this is exactly the guy's mentality. It wouldn't surprise me that as we learn more details, it would not surprise me that this guy ends up being some type of Trump person because of the whole FBI thing. Because of people like Charlie Kirk, who continue to pour gasoline on this whole thing. But with the Republican machine saying Trump was treated unfairly, stunts will happen. Yeah, and that's the point, right? That's the exact definition of stochastic terrorism, right? That's exactly how these things happen. And well, it turns out that Trump was not treated unfairly. A lot of the details surrounding the raid that was said by the right is completely fabricated, complete hogwash. Remember, folks, repeatedly, even during the Trump era, the most persistent and lethal threat is the extreme right, particularly white nationalists and white supremacists. This isn't something I made up. This isn't something that one single person made up or anything like that. This is consistent with both FBI, DHS, numbers. That's who is who has the most proclivity, who has done, and who is the most lethal and persistent threat. Garland said he moved to unseal Trump's search warrant and defends DOJ from attacks. Merrick Garland said on Thursday that he personally approved the decision to seek a search warrant for former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort, and that the Justice Department filed a motion earlier to make the warrant public. Speaking about his decision during the brief press conference, Garland said the department does not take such actions lightly and first pursues less intrusive means to retrieve materials. Garland noted that it was Trump's right to reveal Monday's FBI search of its property, and that all Americans are entitled to a presumption of innocence. Garland added that the Justice Department is asked to make the public property receipt detailing what agents found inside the Trump property. Trump received a federal grand jury subpoena this spring for sensitive documents the government believed he retained after his departure from the White House. We'll talk about that in a second. Garland's nod to less intrusive avenues for recovery appears to be a reference to the subpoena suggesting that Trump had not turned over the materials sought by the Justice Department. Yep. The attacks on Indian Muslim Asian people because of Trump's blaming China, very sadly, I think that the rhetoric being used does have an impact, yes. So instead of reading an article about it, why don't we just listen to what he said, right? Straight out of his mouth.
Since I became Attorney General, I have made clear that the Department of Justice will speak through its court filings and its work. Just now, the Justice Department has filed a motion in the Southern District of Florida to unseal a search warrant and property receipt relating to a court-approved search that the FBI conducted earlier this week. That search was of premises located in Florida belonging to the former president. The department did not make any public statements on the day of the search. The former president publicly confirmed the search that evening, as is his right. Copies of both the warrant and the FBI property receipt were provided on the day of the search to the former president's counsel, who was on site during the search. The search warrant was authorized by a federal court upon the required finding of probable cause.
Based.
The property receipt is a document that federal law requires law enforcement agents to leave with the property owner. The department filed the motion to make public the warrant and receipt in light of the former president's public confirmation of the search, the surrounding circumstances, and the substantial public interest in this matter. Faithful adherence to the rule of law is the bedrock principle of the Justice Department and of our democracy.
It's funny because like all the Republicans are like super posturing. They're like, he needs to answer now. There he is.
Upholding the rule of law means applying the law evenly, without fear.
So there was a request to release the basis of the warrant. So where's the warrant? What are you talking about? They're gonna unseal it. There's a he's. Are you deaf? He's saying that we are filing a motion to unseal this stuff. The warrant, presumably, is presented when you serve said warrant to the legal team that was on site there. So Trump's legal team absolutely had that in their hands.
Or favor. Under my watch, that is precisely what the Justice Department is doing. All Americans are entitled to the even-handed application of the law, to due process of the law, and to the presumption of innocence. Much of our work is by necessity conducted out of the public eye. We do that to protect the constitutional rights of all Americans and to protect the integrity of our investigations. Federal law, long-standing department rules, and our ethical obligations prevent me from providing further details as to the basis of the search at this time.
When all of this is unsealed, I'm sure we'll get a little bit more detail, although I have a suspicion that parts of it are going to be redacted. I mean, folks, this is an ongoing investigation, okay? I mean, that is what it is. This is an ongoing investigation, and stand by for more details. That's as much as we got so far. Unless there's a spy at Mar-a-Lago, Trump took government sensitive documents as a paper trail that should be at a Capitol building or department files. Yeah. Looks like it was unsealed. You can send that to me via whispers.
There are, however, certain points I want you to know. First, I personally approved the decision to seek a search warrant in this matter. Second, the department does not take such a decision lightly. Where possible, it is standard practice to seek less intrusive means.
This is only the request to unseal. Okay, so we're still at that stage, because that's what this is about. That's what this entire announcement is about. So we're still at that stage. Okay. Cool.
As an alternative to a search, and to narrowly scope any search that is undertaken. Third, let me address recent unfounded attacks on the professionalism of the FBI and Justice Department agents and prosecutors.
I just wish that he would be a little bit more direct. Instead of vague posting, be like, let me address like the obvious lies and BS the Republican Party is spreading. But no, I don't think he's not going to do that.
I will not stand by silently when their integrity is unfairly attacked. The men and women of the FBI and the Justice Department are dedicated, patriotic public servants. Every day, they protect the American people from violent crime, terrorism, and other threats to their safety while safeguarding our civil rights. They do so at great personal sacrifice and risk to themselves. I am honored to work alongside them. This is all I can say right now. More information will be made available in the appropriate way and at the appropriate time. Thank you.
All right, that's the Attorney General Merrick Garland at the Department of Justice.
All right. So that's his exact words. Not attacking the ordinary rank and file DOJ and but only that of the appointed officials abusing, allegedly, their authority. Okay, but it is attacking the DOJ. And in order to make this claim, you'd have to present evidence of abusing their authority in this scenario, right? Because you can't say abusing, allegedly, their authority. Great, you made the claim. Now back it up. You can't just accept the fact that there are people going around on the internet saying, and elected officials too, Republicans too, saying that there's like this political witch hunt and all this stuff, and the DOJ is abusing their power and all. Okay, well, what's the evidence? Merrick Garland has the answer now. Well, there he is. He's telling you what's going on here. What it sounds like is that there was probable cause to go to a judge and say, we need a warrant. And the judge said, okay. And this guy approved it. Why? Because there's an investigation going on into potential crimes that the president is doing, allegedly. I'm not making this claim. No, I'm saying that the Republicans that are. I'm simply noting that Merrick is taking a criticism of the appointed officials as though it's a criticism of ordinary rank and file employees. But like the implication, the criticisms that he's responding to are criticisms of the Republican Party, saying people like him and people like the FBI as an organization and the department of DOJ is acting in a politically motivated manner. And all of this is to say, well, you need to back that up. They're just saying these things. And Merrick Garland is telling you that no, this is not the case. This was executed according to the procedure of how we do things. If that makes sense. That's what Merrick Garland is telling you. He's telling you that I hear the criticisms from Republicans. I hear the criticisms and like, no, dude, we're doing this step by step as it should be. This is an investigation, okay? This isn't unprecedented. It's an investigation, just like any other. If Republicans and Trump want attention, he's got it. Yeah, well, even this kind of attention is positive for Trump, to be honest. It just riles up the base. It just gives exactly what they want, right? It feeds into their delusions. It feeds into their delusions. A guy literally attacked the Cincinnati FBI office, okay? This is a direct result of this. President does not make king before or after. That's true. We don't have kings here. No one is above the law. And if you are committing crimes or supposedly, allegedly, are being found to do some sussy-wussy stuff, and you find yourself in the midst of an FBI investigation, that sounds like a you problem, dude. That sounds like a you problem. All right. And to kind of piggyback on just the level of delusions that we're seeing from the Republicans, the saying goes, let's face it, Trump and Republicans want their way, people can vote against it. And this is just another example of the fact that extreme partisans will only support the state when it does what they want. Oh, we're getting to that. You actually came at a perfect example. Exactly for this. And they will completely undermine it when they don't. It's not democracy, it's authoritarianism of convenience. Yeah, that's the Republican Party in a nutshell. You can't call yourself a patriot. You can't call yourself a patriot in the United States in any way. If you're advocating a complete upheaval and outright attack on government procedure because it doesn't fit what you want, that is not how it works. No, and not how it's ever worked. True. Slapping inflation into legislation title doesn't affect inflation at all. You're wrong. You're wrong. Multiple economists, including Nobel Peace Prize winning economists, have pretty much said that, yeah, it does move it in the right direction. Appeal to authority. Wait, can you tell me what appeal to authority means? Can you define the can you define me what the appeal to the appeal to authority fallacy means? Can you define that to me? In other words, yes, this will do it because some authority said so. It's not just some authority. It's a consensus of multiple economists. I'm not just cherry picking one economist and saying this is the guy that agrees with me, so I'm going to use him, right? I'm not cherry picking one or two guys because they agree with me. There's no consensus. I'm saying there's a lot of economists that support this position. Okay? Mainly because it does have a logical basis for this assumption, right? Because the assumption is, if you manage to lower energy prices, inflation over time will decrease. At this time, we know that one of the highest drivers of inflation is the supply chain crisis, right? One of the highest drivers of this is also the energy prices, because that affects that too. So if you manage to lower energy prices, then inflation gets reduced. An electoral system that is shown to be extremely robust and extremely thorough, yet the Republican Party has been calling it a fraud for 2 years. Nonsense. Trump has hired a prominent Atlanta criminal defense attorney known for defending famous rappers to represent him in the matters related to the special grand jury that's investigating whether the former president illegally tried to interfere with the 2020 election in Georgia. Oof, the plot thickens. A criminal attorney. Yikes.
The first and easy thing to do is pass a law saying none of our sheriffs, none of our police, none of our state law enforcement is going to work with them, communicate with them, or recognize any of their authority. If you do that, if you stop tax collectors clerks of the court, county, cities, everybody from operating with them, communicating with them, you leave them in the dark. We need to do that immediately. I called to do that for the Capitol Police months ago. That's something that is a new idea in the Republican Party, but it's an obvious thing we need to do. The second thing is the much more controversial idea, and that's using nullification, using the 10th Amendment to say if a federal agency is operating and performing so-called law enforcement functions, which is what they're pretending it is that they did when they raided Mar-a-Lago, they have to gain state permission. If they do not do that, we should treat them as trespassers and arrest them. If the FBI is going to try to haunt Donald Trump and arrest him at Mar-a-Lago, which I believe they're going to try to do in the next few months if we don't stand up, we need to physically prevent these rogue federal agencies.
No, they're not rogue. Now, this is the level of divorcement of reality that we're seeing from the Republican Party. Okay, it's not just one. It's not just a fringe element. It's the whole party. The whole party's like this, from state, as a state representative, to local, to federal. These people have to move goalposts. Yeah, the levels of mental gymnastics necessary to perform are Olympic. To defend the dear leader. Government policy is not grounded in absolute consensus, which is what you're indirectly proposing. Most government policy is designed by a combination of ruling party objectives, true. Advisory consultation from experts, true. Business and interests and social movements, true. As well as being designed under the limitations of contemporary events, true. Consensus in that regard is quite a broad abstract term. True! Damn. I think I just got obliterated with the amount of truth bombs that were just dropped there. Yes, I agree with that. Yes, you're correct. You're correct.
From doing that, and that means using our law enforcement. If we don't have agents that are willing to do that, recruit new ones. But
ours, Jesus. Oh man, yep. A major driver of inflation has increased federal government spending. No, not all. Not. This is a meme. I can already disregard the rest of this. This is a meme. While inflation is affected sometimes by the increase of spending, the main driver, I would say even bigger driver of inflation is the supply chain issues. Like, this should be obvious, right? You can't just say one thing is the major driver. But I think that there are several factors driving inflation, and the biggest one by far is the supply chain issue caused by the pandemic. We still haven't quite recovered from that. Like, people don't understand how much ramifications this one aspect has done to us. This one pandemic has done to us. And no, it's not just government spending. We're not even sure just how much government spending has affected inflation. In this case, we can point to the pandemic as being one of the biggest causes, bigger than government spending. There can be multiple factors and multiple major drivers. Yes, I don't think that one of them is just increased government spending. If increased money creation by the Federal Reserve was a cause of rapid inflation, then why did it not happen during the periods of quantitative easing? That's because it's not a factor that we're dealing with right now. The biggest thorn in our side is the supply chain issues. Why don't you answer that question? If increased money creation by the Fed was the cause of rapid inflation, why did it not happen during periods of quantitative easing? Because the one factor was insufficient to drive inflation upwards. So, if you're admitting that this one factor is insufficient to drive inflation, aren't you admitting that aren't you admitting that the federal spending isn't that saying that you are admitting that it was insufficient to drive it? So why did you originally say that it was a major factor? Money creation, especially if done poorly, can impact inflation trends, but major driver across all nations seem to be the supply issues and high demand. That's why it's present in pretty much every major economy in the world, while some nations did and some nations didn't print money. The possible answer is during the pandemic, people's use stimulus was used to pay bills and buy for food. No, James is explaining in better ways than I can what's going on here. The major driver across all nations appears to be the supply issues and high demand. That's why it's present in every major economy in the world, while some nations did and some didn't print money. In other words, that factor was not irrelevant. That factor was irrelevant. But you just said. You're just saying the same things that I am. Is it beyond comprehension that supply chain issues that reduce the availability of products increase federal spending, including direct payments to taxpayers, energy prices, have contributed to inflation? The supply chain issue is affected also by energy, and energy is also affected by energy is the one thing that is affecting supply chain issues too. All that is being compounded. Direct payments to taxpayers aren't the reason, or aren't even like a big, if at all, a factor. Like, I need you to explain the connection between, like, for example, how many direct payments did we get? Maybe three direct payments? That's what's driving inflation? Really? How many months, or when was the last time we got a stimulus check? Hey, Lostu, how's it going? Suddenly I appreciate Canada's federal criminal code. What? I don't know what that means. Never forget the stock market bailout of 1.5 trillion. Yeah. Everything is affected by everything? That's not what I said. I'm saying you're not making sense. What is the direct payments to taxpayers? When was the last time a stimulus check was sent? We're not pretending that inflation is only a thing today. I never said that. maybe 1.5 years ago. Yeah, we stopped. Yeah, like there's been no stimulus checks. Like I don't understand what the connection is between. That's the implication we appealed to when the last stimulus check came out. This is almost 2 years out. Inflation is now fueled by Russia and Ukraine war, even though the Canada and US don't get anything from them, but places, but industry makes more record-breaking profits. Part of it is price gouging. Part of it is price gouging, companies taking advantage. There is something to be said about the Russia-Ukraine conflict, which increases energy prices, and that has a effect on the whole transportation thing, supply line thing. All that has a domino effect. All right, let's do this one really quick. Trump hires prominent Atlanta attorney. And it matters related to a special grand jury that's investigating whether former president tried to illegally interfere with the 2020 election in Georgia. Drew's finding clients have included Cardi B, Migos, Gucci Mane, as well as comedian Cat Williams. His Twitter bio includes hashtag $1 billion lawyer, and his Instagram feed is filled with photos of him posing with well-known clients. Ultimately, yes, money creation can cause inflation. Of course, it can if it's extremely reckless, but the broader point about money creation is often not about economic policy, but instead of covertly framed through push small government, low spending arguments. Government should spend money when the economy needs it and should tax appropriately, but if you expect to drastically change your spending policy but keep your tax policy the same, you're going to create a crisis. Governments have failed to tax. That's a good point. His most recent Instagram post dated 2 days after the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade says his firm is committed to fighting to restore a woman's right to choose, which has been destroyed by the Supreme Court, suggesting his personal views don't align with Trump's Republican Party. He offered to... What? Why is that even relevant? He's there for money, dude. Okay. After Trump insulted basketball player LeBron James, in August... insulted basketball star LeBron James' intelligence in August 2018 tweet, finally called Trump the racist architect of fraudulent Trump University in a tweet, and ended with the post POTUS pathetic once again. Of course, this means nothing if the money's coming. The Finland law firm said in a statement that it has been hired along with attorneys Jennifer Little and Dwight Thomas to represent Trump. I may differ politically from my clients, but that doesn't mean I won't change my commitment to make as much money off them as defend against wrongful investigations. In this case, the focus on President Trump in Fulton County, Georgia, is clearly an erroneous and politically driven persecution. Along with my office and co-counsel, I'm fully committed to defend against this injustice. Bro, there was a 1 hour and something perfect phone call. Yeah, I think there's evidence to suggest that we definitely need to look into this. A grand jury wasn't summoned by, nothing. Inachu, howdy, howdy. Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis opened the investigation early last year, and a special grand jury was seated in May at her request. All right. One chill session, and then we'll get into the next articles. Folks, if you have 5 seconds, make sure you hit the follow button. You get 5 free emotes. Make sure you join on the YouTubes. Hit the subscribe button. It really does help us out. Spread the word far and wide that this is the chillest place to be for news and politics, Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Also, take 5 seconds to also check out this month's sponsor. That's right, folks, HelloFresh. We are actually currently using HelloFresh ourselves. It is pretty good. I would say that I would have definitely more positives to say. We've been using this for years, on and off. And the recipes aren't that bad. The recipes are easy to make. And yeah, so I decided that this would be a fair and easy fit for sponsorship as well. A, it's through Stream Elements, which is pretty cool. And B, it's actually something that I use. If you hit !HelloFresh, you will get the link in which you can get 16 free meals plus 3 surprise gifts across your 6 HelloFresh boxes, plus free shipping on your first box. Use code POG H475 to get that 16 free meals, 3 surprise gift across 6 HelloFresh boxes, and free shipping on the first one. That's !HelloFresh. Is the economic consensus supply chain issues? Basically, like, we've come to the determination that because of this pandemic and whatnot, supply chain issues has been quite the problem. Yeah, I've seen this one. I was going to ask if you use HelloFresh. Yes, I use it myself. Cost-wise and time-saving from less food prep add to a cost-efficient choice. I mean, I'll say this. I don't have to go to the grocery store as much. That's pretty much it. It comes straight to the door. The food time, the actual prep time to make the food, usually less than an hour. If it's like the really more difficult recipes, less than an hour. Cost-wise, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. I would say that it's like, because after you order like a certain amount, they keep giving you discounts, and like the more you order and the more you stay ordering, the cheaper it gets. You know, you get like freebies, and you get like occasional free boxes and all this other stuff, and you can share free boxes, things like that. I think all in all, the actual cost itself might be around the same or less than going to the grocery shop and picking up all the stuff yourself and making it yourself. Like, that hassle is pretty much done. So that you have to make that determination if that's worth it. I should look into it, if only to get a broader diversity of meals. Yeah, there's plenty of different selections as well. I mean, there's a distinct difference between the government giving out money to citizens during a pandemic and then not implementing any sort of efficient tax policy during that process, or before or after. Stimulus money is needed to be sent, otherwise you'd have a humanitarian and economic crisis on your hands, but lack of taxation is a choice. They actively chose the wrong one. Yep. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. Analysts warn violent rhetoric after FBI Mar-a-Lago search as a preview of what's to come. From conservative pundits and lawmakers to far-right influencers, the search was cast as an existential threat, because that's how it works, to the U.S., with terms like civil war and tyranny thrown around on television and online forums. Pro-Trump commentators called for mass arrest, denouncing the FBI, warned a dark day for our republic, and called for mass arrest, and suggested that the move would result in political violence. It has already. It has. This is warfare. Jesus. There's the only rule in war is to win. Not really. No. One user wrote on popular pro-Trump forum that served as a staging ground for the January 6th insurrection. We need to go on the offense. When do we get to use the guns? In a surge of violent rhetoric, Drew concerns that it could inspire attacks on law enforcement. It did. It did. It did. Directed at FBI agents and leaders. Trump supporters picketed several of the agency's field offices, with larger protests planned at its Washington, D.C. headquarters on Sunday. The Florida federal judge who signed the warrant that has allowed FBI agents to search the Trump residence has been flooded with threats, with far-right messaging channels publishing his address and spreading anti-Semitic conspiracy theories because, of course, Republicans fear machine and gaslight, obstruct, and project. Yep, that's the good old party has now transformed into gaslight, obstruct, and project. But former law enforcement officials and analysts of political violence warned that this may only be a preview of the backlash that could erupt if various investigations into Trump, which is stoking speculation about a 2024 run, progress further. Like, yeah, while it's true that he has essentially a decent amount of people who are enough divorced from reality to actually do stuff, as we saw yesterday, a Cincinnati person decided to attack the FBI place there. Let's not pretend that either side has some monopoly. Yeah, no, it's pretty clear here. It's pretty clear here. Yeah, it's pretty clear. It's pretty clear for years now from the FBI and the DHS that there's one side who has the most persistent and lethal threat to domestic terrorism. There's only one side who has the winner of that award. There's only one side who has the winner of that award. Sorry. Facts do not care about your feelings. I don't know what tax policy would have changed. You tax the rich, yes. Yes, you tax them. That's what you do. Giving stimulus checks to citizens help them. Yes, that's what you do. And we did do payment protection plans, like the PPP loans. Yes, we did that. I believe we also did rent freezes. And I believe we also did something with mortgages, which slips my mind. Yes, we did that. Trump is facing a range of investigations. A Mar-a-Lago search was reportedly related to his alleged mishandling of classified documents. A House committee is investigating the January 6th insurrection. A federal grand jury is investigating efforts to overturn the 2020 election and has subpoenaed senior Trump officials. And there are several state-level investigations also probing the 2020 election matters, as well as legal battles over his tax returns. What are you talking about? Wait, those reports that use an example of right-wing terrorism? A black guy who shot up a college in Oregon? What are you talking about? Are you okay? Nobody talked about anything like this. I'm not talking about mass shootings. I'm not talking about mass shootings, dude. I never said the words mass shootings. It's not just the DHS, it's the FBI too. Do you think that the DHS officials who were appointed by the Trump administrations are partisan? And who do you think they're partisan to? By the way, I got that from Trump's DHS. That was Chad Wolf. That was Chad Wolf, Trump's DHS person. Yeah. Ouch. It's not to drum up some narrative of massive right-wing terrorism. It's happening. It's not to drum up some made-up stuff. I didn't talk. You see, like, you're gaslighting, like, in real time. I didn't say, is your mental health okay? I'm questioning what these have to do with the words that I am saying. I never said the words mass shootings. I'm referring to who has the monopoly, who has the official grasp on the proclivity for domestic terrorism. Who is the most persistent and lethal threat to the domestic homeland? The answer to that across multiple agencies is the right. If you don't like that fact, seems like a you problem. I'm referring to the report you're appealing to and how it classified events to drive the right-wing terrorism threat narrative. No. This was done by Trump's appointed people. They were trying to downplay that. And that was the milk toast version, my friend. I didn't get that from some other part. The partisan narrative you're talking about is Trump's own appointees. Yikes. With recent polls showing that a growing number of Americans think violence against the U.S. government can be justified, right-wing personalities amplifying the alarming rhetoric, and national security agencies warning that upcoming midterm elections could be a flashpoint for extremist violence, this kind of language is likely to be seen as a call to arms. Yes. It is. When you have people saying things like, we need to raid them back. When you have people at your conferences asking when to use, when can they use the guns? I mean, wow, a surprised Pikachu face. No, it does have absolutely, it's relevant because you said that there was some partisan narrative. Your words were to drive the right-wing terrorism threat narrative. And then previously, you said, where is it? When you review the DHS report, you see the markers of pure partisan fear-mongering. Partisan. But the people who are making these reports were appointed by Trump. Maple Leaf Dragon with the tier 1 sub. No, he appoints who heads them, which dictates what policies and how they do things. So you're now going to teach it to work these nations politically driven at all times because of political appointments at the top of the food chain. I think that there can be political motivations for people, and especially with policies. Yeah, it's possible, but you can't tell me that there's a partisan narrative when the people that are at the head of defining the policies are the people who are the same. You're not making sense. Here. This is the 2020. This is the last report before Trump left. This is the last report before Trump left. Here we are. White supremacist presents the gravest terror threat to the U.S. according to a draft report from the Department of Homeland Security. And when was this dates? The cutoff date for the information analyzed in the earliest draft is August 3rd of 2020. So it's recent. It's whatever this year's report is, or at that time. Yes, white supremacist. Do you need a definition? Dylan Roof was a white supremacist, yes. Dylan was clearly not, really. A neo-Nazi white supremacist is not on the right. That's dishonest. And you know it. Who believed in the white genocide conspiracy theory, who expressed Nazi beliefs, anti-black racism, white supremacy. Let's take a look at neo-Nazism. What does that say? Yes, far right. Do you want me to say just far right as a broad brush? It's the same thing. White supremacists are far right. And by definition, they belong to the right wing. Yes. Yeah, the Proud Boys, all these people are far right. And Oath Keepers and Patriot Front and other groups marching in the blue states, I'm not surprised. What would you call a neo-Nazi? Maybe I'm splitting hairs here? Yeah, because you're doing it on purpose. When I see right-wing, I think I'm right-wing politics. Yes, right-wing politics. Yes. Like Dylan Roof. Yes. Like Republicans and conservatives? Yeah, like them. It's not as ultra tiny as you think. Yeah, neo-Nazi white supremacists that could support Medicare for all for white people. Yeah, there you go. It's the same. It's the same. American right-wing politics, not other countries. Well, then, yeah, like our friend here is going to have to explain to me why the Republican and conservative CPAC movement. So you're classifying Republicans and conservatives as far-right folks? Yeah. Republicans and conservatives are becoming indistinguishable from far-right people. You're going to have to explain to me why, then, one of the biggest conservative political action what is it? Events? Yeah, one of the biggest conservative political events. Conservative. Broad tent. Republicans were there too. You're going to have to explain why Orban was there. Yeah, Orban, really. Yeah, at CPAC, yeah. And why CPAC was in Hungary. Yeah, explain that. And then explain to me how Orban, who has said things like, I don't like or I don't want race mixing, explain that one to me. Explain that to me, but explain it to me like I'm 5. He was invited for a variety of reasons. Yeah. So, like for his comments about not race mixing. He was invited for a variety of reasons. How's invited Orban linked to all domestic terrorism? You're not listening. You're not listening. It's like your brain switches off whenever whenever a good point is being presented in front of you. It's like you purposely ignore it. Better yet, how does his invitation reveal that conservatives and Republicans are indistinguishable from the far right? Because if you have a guy explicitly advocating for far right policies, and he's your opening speaker, and a domestic political action campaign is doing these things abroad, knowing that this guy is an authoritarian, knowing that this guy has questionable views, and why do they support him? I'm listening. You just use Orban as a specific example. Conservatives and Republicans are indistinguishable. Yeah. You're gonna have to explain why they would want somebody like that there. One of the quotes that Viktor Orban said, "I'm here to tell you we should unite our forces," to the Republicans and conservatives in that CPAC conference. Explain that one. Explain that one. Explain why Viktor Orban making speeches talking about how Hungary must not become a mixed race country, being invited as an opener for CPAC, and then saying things like, "Yeah, we should unite our forces," and then gets cheered by conservatives there. Why is it that? How do you explain Marjorie Taylor Greene? Huh? How do you explain Marjorie Taylor Greene? She isn't a fringe element. She's a rock star in the conservative movement. How do you explain her words? Yikes. How do you explain Marjorie Taylor Greene trying to justify at a another? I think this was it? Oh yeah, at a TPUSA at a TPUSA event, saying that nationalism is good because he advocates some policies that conservatives can also support. Meanwhile, there's a broad criticism among conservatives of Orban's invitation, and some conservatives no. He was met with cheers and applause, my friend. You're criticizing others. Orban's appearance doesn't magically make conservatives and Republicans indistinguishable from far-right idiots. Yeah, it kind of makes my point. You know, you can agree with some points, but then realize that this person is so reprehensible that maybe you can make those good points without needing the whole race mixing thing, without the whole Nazi rhetoric. Maybe you could make your points without doing that, but it sounds like they got a lot of warm reception. Nationalism is good. Yeah, I know you believe nationalism is good because, again, you're indistinguishable. The people who are criticizing Viktor Orban, are in the minority, and they would be considered rhinos. They would be considered left-wing activists. I know because I see it. Nationalism is incredibly dangerous, my friend. Because again, you are indistinguishable. No, that's not my opinion. That's pretty much the consensus among the Republican Party, which is why people like Marjorie Taylor Greene are rock stars, which is why people like Donald Trump are rock stars. They are the Republican Party. No, nationalism is dangerous. Not can be, is. Yeah, let me argue against by proving my point. Thank you. No? She's not? Interesting. No, I know what I'm talking about. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene, a freshman representative, has raised nearly well, this is a bit old, but this is let me see what the date is on. Oh, earlier this year. Sorry. Whew. Gotta dot my I's and cross my T's, yeah? Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is a freshman, raised $6.3 million and is the fourth highest overall fundraiser. She is the fourth overall House Republican fundraiser, the third highest House Republican election objector fundraiser, meaning the people who deny reality. So now we're going to substitute something as an argument? What are you talking about? Hello? Are you okay? Are you... Is this on? My claim was, she is a powerhouse. She is a rock star in the Republican Party. You're not listening to me. Is this on? You're going to use fundraising as a substitute for argument? No. It is to bolster my point that she is a party rock star. She is a GOP rock star. That MTG can raise a ton of money is not indicative of her being a rock star. Yeah, she's being monumentally helpful to the Republican Party. Of course they love her. May of 2022. GOP Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene declared a massive primary victory in Georgia on Tuesday. This is May in the primary elections, after she received the boost for her re-election campaign. Greene, a prominent Trump supporter who's endorsed by the former president, is known for whatever QAnon and all nonsense. Greene, not only did she receive more than 50% of the GOP vote, this is a GOP primary, avoiding a runoff, she soared past the support she received 2 years ago. So her popularity is increasing. In 2020, Greene only received 40% of the vote, sending her to the runoff contest against John Cohen. She went to clinch 57% of the GOP vote, the majority, before defeating her Democratic opponent, who unofficially withdrew before the general election. At the time Tuesday's race was called by the Associated Press, Greene had nearly 70% of the vote, and she ran against 5 other Republican candidates. Damn. That's as damning as it gets. Her popularity has soared. She's a fundraising powerhouse because people donate to her. She's a darling of the conservative party. She's a rock star. Yeah. Substantiated. Claim has been substantiated. Cool. I hate to break this to all the nationalists out there, but unless humanity starts planning for the future as if our species survival is at stake, which it is, start figuring out how to live in balance with nature again to some extent, humanity is screwed. Yeah, Maple Leaf, but they're not interested in that. Nationalists are generally interested with the brown people and whatnot. Yep, Marjorie Taylor Greene is more popular than Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz, I bet. There's a little old adage, a test says it will help to solve many of life's problems. It goes as follows. If it looks like a duck, it swims like a duck, and quacks like a duck, then probably is a duck. If you're hanging around far-right people, saying the same things as far-right people, doing the same things as far-right people, and absolutely failing to distance yourself from far-right people, you're maybe not so distant to the far-right as you thought you were. Yeah. I mean, like, why, and again, this was never explained to me. This was never explained to me adequately as to why the Republican Party welcomed with open arms somebody like Viktor Orban. So we better hope that the Republicans lose when the final vote occurs. 100%. Like, Republicans are the Republican Party as it stands is incompatible with democracy. The Republican Party is incompatible with democratic norms. So when I make the claim that Marjorie Taylor Greene is indeed a darling of the conservative movement, a darling of the GOP, I think I've substantiated that. Her popularity is as high as it's ever been. She's a fundraising powerhouse. In her primary, which is presumably Republican, the way Republicans and the way individual political parties kind of, settle their disputes, the numbers were clear. Anyways. What the Inflation Reduction Act does and what it doesn't do about rising prices. The massive climate, healthcare, and tax bill is making its way towards President Biden's desk is called the Inflation Reduction Act, but how much does it actually do to slow consumer prices that are climbing at their fastest rate in 40 years? After months of negotiations, a 755-page version of the bill passed the Senate and on Sunday and will soon up to be voted in the House, where it's expected to pass. The White House says roughly $700 billion of the package will address inflation in two key ways: by lowering energy prices and healthcare costs for families and helping to bring down the deficit. And that's why even Democrats and Republicans, former Treasury Secretaries, economists across the board have said this bill will make a positive impact on inflation while also tackling some of the biggest and long-standing issues facing our country, like prescription drugs and tackling climate change, said Brian Deese, director of National Economic Council, in an interview with NPR's Morning Edition. While experts generally agree that the legislation will modestly slow the growth of prices, it may not do so in the ways that you think or as quickly. Wait, people think that honestly you just like flip a switch and everything just gets fixed? Is that how that works? As the legislation nears final passage, here are some answers about what it means for inflation. The bill will make small steps to bring inflation back to normal levels, and Chaya Akbas, the Director of Economic Policy at Bipartisan Policy Center, would generally work in the right direction and help the Federal Reserve, which has the primary responsibility for getting a hold of inflation. There are three main ways the bill targets rising prices, according to Akbas. First, it plans to reduce federal deficit, which is the difference between how much U.S. government spends and how much it makes in taxes and revenue. I believe this is to James Napper's point, where if you have a situation where you don't tax appropriately, you end up with you end up getting caught with your pants down, essentially. Bring on the dark Brandon memes. That's when there's less money floating in the economy, there tends to be less demand and fewer price hikes. Because there are several provisions to encourage spending in the bill, the net impact on inflation is unclear. Second, it will promote the production of certain goods, mainly renewable energy. Having more supply than demand could help lower some costs over time. Thirdly, and more directly, one provision will help limit the price growth of certain prescription drugs by allowing Medicare to negotiate their costs with pharmaceutical companies. Still, some of the biggest drivers of inflation, including food and energy costs. Notice there's one thing missing here. Are not immediately addressed. The proposal won't curb inflation dramatically nor right away. It's not likely to have a major effect in the next few months. Some experts like Kent Smetter, faculty director of the Penn Wharton budget model, do not expect a significant impact in the next few years. On one hand, it does not add to inflation, which was the previous concern that people had, but at the same, it doesn't really take away from the rise in prices either. Nonpartisan Commission, the CBO, which scored the bill, also determined that the bill will have a negligible effect on inflation this year and next. This happened also with a lot of economic policies that happens, with every president, right? You kind of don't see that until years down the road. The package includes $430 billion in new spending to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, invest in clean energy technology, and extend subsidies in the Affordable Care Act. The plan also brings the bill also plans to bring in $300 billion in new revenue by imposing a 15% minimum tax on corporations making $1 billion through a new excise tax on corporate stock buybacks. The way to think about this is not inflation at all, but the trade-offs between helping people who need more help, especially in healthcare, and reducing carbon, versus the potential impact on future investment. While experts don't see a rapid curb to inflation through this bill, there's a range of measures to help with high costs. For instance, the bill offers a number of tax credits for people switching to cleaner energy sources, including electric vehicles and rooftop solar panels. Those incentives will take place in 2023, and according to Democrats, it'll mean a 40% cut in greenhouse gas emissions from 2005 levels by the end of the decade. The IRS will also get a boost in funding, particularly to improve its customer service and tax enforcement. ACPA said that the investment could help alleviate some of the challenges with long-time response times for getting tax refunds processed. It could also increase the collection of taxes that are currently owed but unpaid. Millions of Americans will continue to benefit from subsidies that help with rising health insurance premiums that were originally slated to expire next year. This bill will put a $2,000 annual cap on out-of-pocket prescription drugs for people insured by Medicare, which will be most impactful for senior citizens with illness such as cancer and multiple sclerosis. But that provision won't materialize until 2025. Prices are high now, but we're talking about prices that have been put burdens on household budgets for decades, said Rakeen Mahmood, the chief economist of the Groundwork Collaborative, a progressive economics think tank. We've been struggling with skyrocketing healthcare costs for a really long time, and this bill is an important step forward. It is unlikely that a vast majority of households will see a direct impact on their taxes. Instead, taxes will increase largely fall on corporations. That said, some employees may feel the tax burden indirectly. If a company feels less profitable and able to spend less on labor and able to pay higher wages, then that will be felt by individuals throughout the economy. Yeah, but like if they're clearly fine making record profits, then yeah, this is nonsense. Che Huang, the executive director of Law Center of New York, doesn't expect a significant impact on wages. Since the tax code of 2017, economists didn't see a major difference in wages. Reversing some of that for the very largest corporations can be expected to have similarly small or imperceptible effect. Right. Yeah. So giving subsidies for energy and giving subsidies for healthcare, as well as increasing tax revenue, should have a impact down the line. In fact, just by the tax, what is it? Not tax holiday, but like tax jubilee, essentially, to bring down gas prices has also caused a ripple effect of bringing down inflation, because, well, these two things are connected. Okay, so we've got a few articles, and we need to speed run this. Economic policies take a while to show effects. Yes, sometimes we don't even see that until the next administration. The federal gas tax is only 18 cents per gallon, though. Yeah, it's dropping more than that, though. Gas prices have been repeatedly going down for what, 60 days at this point, which also has an effect on decreasing inflation. Satellite imagery shows Antarctica ice shelf crumbling faster than thought. This is good. More good news, folks. Yeah, Trump and the Republicans would never sign this bill. Antarctica's coastal glaciers are shedding icebergs more than rapidly than nature can replenish through crumbling ice, doubling previous estimate of losses from the world's largest ice sheet over the past 25 years. The first of its kind study, led by researcher at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory near Los Angeles, has published in the journal Nature, raises new concern about how fast climate change is weakening Antarctica's floating ice shelves and accelerating the rise of global sea levels. The study's key finding was that the net loss of Antarctica ice from coastal glacier chunks calving off into the ocean is nearly as great as the net amount of ice that scientists already knew was being lost due to thinning caused by melting of ice shelves from or below the warming seas. Taken together, thinning and calving have reduced the mass of Antarctica's ice shelves by 12 trillion since 1997, double the previous estimate. The net loss of the continent's ice sheet from calving alone in the past quarter century spans nearly 37,000 square kilometers, an area almost the size of Switzerland, according to JPL scientist Chad Green, the study's lead author. Antarctica's crumbling at its edges. Green said in a NASA announcement of the findings. and ice shelves dwindle and weaken, the continent's massive glaciers tend to speed up and increase the rate of global sea level rise. The consequences could be enormous. Antarctica holds 88% of the sea level potential of all the world's ice. Holy yikes. Ice shelves, permanently floating sheets of frozen water attached to land, takes thousands of years to form and act like a buttress holding the back glaciers that would otherwise easily slide off into the ocean, causing seas to rise. Makes sense. When ice shelves are stable, the long-term natural cycle of calving and regrowth keeps their size fairly constant. In recent decades, though, warming oceans have weakened the shelves from underneath, a phenomenon previously documented by satellite altimeters measuring the change in height of the ice and showing loss averaging 149 million tons a year from 2002 to 2020. From their analysis, Green's team synthesized the satellite imagery from visible thermal, infrared, and radar wavelengths to chart glacial flow and calving since 97 more accurately than ever over 30,000 miles of Antarctic coastline. The loss measured from calving outpaced natural ice shelf replacement so greatly that researchers found it unlikely that Antarctica can return to pre-2000 glacier levels by the end of the century. The accelerated calving, glacial calving, like ice thinning, was most pronounced in the West Antarctica and are hit harder by warming ocean currents. But even in East Antarctica, a region whose ice shelves were long considered less vulnerable, we're seeing more losses than gains. Yikes. One East Antarctic calving event that took the world by surprise was the collapse and disintegration of the massive Conger Glens ice shelf in March, possibly a sign of greater weakening to come. Eric Wolf, a Royal Society research professor at the University of Cambridge, pointed to the study analysis of how the East Antarctic ice sheet behaved during warm periods of the past and models for what may happen in the future. The good news is if we keep to 2 degrees of global warming, that Paris Agreement promise... Whoa, wait a minute. No, it was 1.5. The sea level rise due to the East Antarctic could be modest, Wolf wrote in a commentary on the JPL study. Failure to curb greenhouse gas emissions, however, would risk contributing many meters of sea level rise over the next centuries. Yep. $37,000 square kilometers equals 3.982647 times 10 to the 11th square feet. Jesus. I will note that one depressing part here. I see this more and more. It seems like a lot of the consensus, the scientific consensus is that we're already blowing past the 1.5. So I see more and more mentions of 2 degrees Celsius, which is quite depressing. It looks like we've conceded the fact that we're just not going to make the 1.5. That's just gone. We can forget about even thinking about that. It seems to me like scientists feel confident to remain at the 2.0 level, but the ideal scenario would have been 1.5. But it looks like it's not happening. Yeah, 30, let me see. Yeah, any improvement helps. I'm just saying that it's kind of depressing that we're not, we basically blew past that 1.5. Yeah, 30,000 Echo Rest or Dragon. 30,000 miles. Oh, wait, hold on. Sorry. I know what you're saying now. Sorry. The net loss of the continent's ice sheet from the calving alone in the past quarter century spans nearly 37 square kilometers, or 14,300 square miles. You're right. Right here. Michigan company releases industrial chemicals into water. Michigan environmentals, activists or environmental agencies are accusing auto trim maker of violating law after releasing industrial chemicals into a river system northwest of Detroit. An auto trim maker violated the law after releasing industrial chemicals into a river system northwest of Detroit, Michigan, environmental officials say. Michigan's department... How do I close this? Oh, Lord. Okay, here we are. Michigan's Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy says Water Resource Division issued citations on Tuesday to Tribar Manufacturing in Wixom for discharging a plating solutions containing hexavalent chromium into sanitary sewer systems in the weekend of July 29th. The solution ended up at a wastewater treatment facility that sends wastewater into a creek that flows into the Huron River system. Nice. Hexavalent chromium is a known carcinogen and can cause a number of health problems if someone ingests it, touches it, or inhales it. Jesus Christ. Tribar Manufacturing was cited for failing to immediately notify the Department of Environment Great Lakes Energy after discovering the discharge. Flint doesn't even have clean water yet. I don't think so. That stuff is bad. Yep. Indeed. The agency also alleges that the unauthorized discharge of pollutants interfere with the wastewater treatment process. The agency says it's still investigating exactly how much chemical was released and why. Why? Negligence, and probably because they wanted to get away from skirting regulations as corporations do. Tribar Manufacturing has until August 20th to respond in writing to the notices. The Associated Press called Tribar Manufacturing on Wednesday afternoon, but was unable to leave a message on the company's voicemail system. State health officials have said testing at 55 downstream locations in the Huron River system did not find any hexavalent chromium. Health officials say people and pets should avoid contact with the Huron River parts in Oakland and Livingston counties. It also advises that fish caught in the area should not be eaten. Yikes. All right, so we're going to do this story really quickly. Walgreens was found guilty of fueling San Francisco's opiate addiction, judge rules in landmark case. Walgreens flooded city's pharmacies with millions of opioid pills without safeguards to prevent suspicious prescriptions from being filled for 14 years. The judge made his ruling based off a 3-month-long trial, the city and county of San Francisco versus Purdue Pharma, known as the opioid trial. San Francisco's landmark win in court holds Walgreens liable and gives a voice to countless voiceless overdose victims who lost their lives. Said City Attorney David Chu told reporters on Wednesday, Walgreens is the largest retail pharmacy in San Francisco. Evidence presented at the trial showed that between 2006 and 2020, Walgreens distributed and dispensed over 100 million prescription opioid pills in the city. So the Walgreens fine is It does not say. Oh, rather than wait for the judge's ruling, Allergen and Teva agreed to pay San Francisco $34 million in cash and provide the city $20 million worth of overdose reversal drug Narcan. Following the agreement, Allergen and Teva were severed from the trial. Okay, so wait, these guys just bought themselves out. I don't think it tells us here what the fine or what the Okay, here we go. The amount the pharmacy chain giant must pay San Francisco will be determined in a later trial. Yeah, so we don't know. The point is, like, at the end of the day, these massive corporations essentially are facilitating the death of a bunch of people, and the only thing that they have to answer for is a fine, which is wild to me. So Maple Leaf Dragon, there's a shiny, sunshiny news for you. Mega corporation, mega chain, facilitates the death of countless of people, millions of people, and only probably ends up having to pay a fine for it. Maybe to start as 35, but Walgreens will have to pay later. Yeah, no, 35 was another defendant. This has something completely separate. The actual fine that Walgreens themselves will have to pay will be determined later. But I hope that more and more of these cases come and there's more accountability. I mean, if it ends up the case, in my opinion, what should happen is all these companies should be essentially bankrupted or nationalized. Or split up, or broken up. We're getting close to that 7:30 mark. So we're just in time to do this last story, which should leave everybody in a which should leave everybody in a feel good mood, right? Yeah, but blame the addicts though, right? Nah, that's too good for them, Wolfglin. I want them bankrupted. I want them to never be able to do business ever again. I want them to never have the ability to have a business ever again. But that's just my opinion. I want them to be so incapable of ever being in business again. Yeah, that's my ruling. I have spoken. Either that, or they get nationalized or broken up into smaller, democratized firms. This is the problem when you have big companies doing stuff like that. And at the end of the day, even if it was $10 a pill, even if it was $30 a pill, even if it was $10,000, even if they had to pay $100 billion, it doesn't matter. The point is, like, a corporation facilitated the death of God knows how many victims, and yeah, it's a civil case. That's my problem with it. It's a civil case. Nice. All right, for a kind of semi-feel-good story, let's end on this one, right? Looking for forever homes, forever loving homes. Nearly 4,000 beagles bred for drug experiments were rescued. I understand. What about the pharmacists that filled the scripts? They should lose their licenses. Yep. Especially if it's known that they were doing this on purpose, without bringing it up appropriately. To the appropriate chain, like without bringing it up to their manager, whoever they're supposed to bring it up to, the authorities or whatever, then yes, they should lose their license. They should not be pharmacists. Yeah, I agree. 100%. In what's thought to be one of the biggest dog rescue efforts in the US, nearly 4,000 beagles are looking for forever homes after being saved from a Virginia facility that bred them to be sold to laboratories for drug experiments. A, why is this a thing? And B, I'm so glad that these guys got rescued. Holy yikes, how horrible. Completely reprehensible. Animal rescue organizations volunteers started moving the first batch of dogs late last month, and the Humane Society of the U.S. The Humane Society of the U.S. reported. As of Tuesday, just over half of them had been removed. The nonprofit reported on its website. I was able to bring out the very first puppy, and it gets you to know that these dogs were destined for and what they're going on and what they're going now. It's indescribable. Yeah, said Kitty Black, president and chief executive of the U.S. Humane Society. Absolutely horrible. Shelters from Illinois to PA have begun receiving these dogs to give them medical exams, vaccinations, and other treatments before they are ready for adoption. It's going to take 60 days to get all these animals out, and working with our shelter and rescue partners across the country, working with them to get these dogs eventually into ever-loving homes. Look at this. So adorable. Oh. Oh. The plan to remove the dogs kicked off when federal governments filed a civil lawsuit against Envigo RMS, which owns and operates the Cumberland, Virginia facility that breeds beagles for medical research. Gross. According to the court papers, U.S. Department of Justice alleged Animal Welfare Act violations at the facility. It's very unprecedented, said Audra Houghton, the Humane Society's animal rescue team director. I don't think there's anyone on our team that has seen 4,000 dogs in one location at one time in their entire career. Animal welfare violations include dogs receiving insufficient food, inadequate medical care, housing in filthy conditions, and some being euthanized without anesthesia. Jesus freaking Christ. In June, the parent company said it would close Innovative would close a facility in July, and Vigo settled with the government without paying any fines. Damn, nice. Cool. Absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. But 4,000 of these little beagles were saved. So, congrats and awesome effort by these folks. 4,000 of them. All right, folks. We did it. We got through all the articles. Folks, one last time, if you guys enjoyed the content, don't forget to hit the follow button. Spread the word far and wide that this is the chillest place to be for the news, for the politics, Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Join us on the YouTubes. What the hell? Yeah, I know, right? Come on, there was a heartwarming ending to that story. The 4,000 of those puppies were rescued. That's incredible. 4,000 of those puppies were rescued, and hopefully they'll get adopted into a proper home that will take care of them and love them as they should. What is society? Good question. All right, folks. Unfortunately, that is all the time I have today. Again, make sure you hit the follow button. You get 5 free emotes. Join us on the YouTubes. Jesse Pinkman. What? I mean, I'll take it. I guess? Is it because I do a lot of articles with climate change? I should start saying science a lot more, right? I should work on my Jesse Pinkman accent and see if I could do it. Anyways, That's a good meme. I have no idea why that would even be a thing. All right, folks. Yeah, Breaking Bad reference. That's right. I mean, to be fair, Jesse Pinkman was a pretty cool character. Quite the arc in that story. Thank you, Carlos, for being and double for you until Sunday. Yep. The lips too? Really? I don't know about that, but hey. I don't know about that. I mean, I'll just say it's a compliment. I'll take it as a compliment and let that be it. As always, folks. Yeah. Science, bitch. No, I need to have a raspier voice. I don't have a naturally raspy voice. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Alright, folks. Like I said, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. I'm not going to scream all day before the stream. I won't have a voice. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. Hold on, I owe somebody a dab. Alio with the 10 biddies. Alright, we're heading out, folks. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See ya.